Today, I'm responding to a question I was recently asked at the end of a webinar to which I'd been the guest, carrying out one of our Get Big or Go Home masterclasses. And the business owner said, "When do you know it's the right time to take on a business coach?" And it's not the first time I've been asked that question. So I figured it was probably right to be able to record this video, to be able to share as to when is the right and when is the wrong time to take on some form of external help and support into you and your business and the scale in which it then proceeds. So first of all, let's address some of the reasons why it's not the right time to take on some form of coach or mentor such as myself. It's not the right times to take on a mentor or coach if you are already doing everything within your business yourself and you believe that that's the right thing for you and your business. That you still treat your business as your little baby and think that everything that has to happen within your business has to be done by you or it's not going to get done to the right level or standard. That you're fearful of being able to hand over some of the responsibilities of being able to grow you and your business to other people, even if those people don't currently exist within the business. If you've got a real fear or apprehension of other people working with you to be able to provide a better service to more people for more money, then the chances are that working with a coach is going to be a difficult decision for you to make and for them to be able to get any real resolve if you genuinely believe that the business is you and you are the business. It's also probably not the right times to work with a coach if you're one of those been there, done that, worn the t-shirt, you can't teach me anything type. Now don't get me wrong, there are many things that we might have done in business and a coach or mentor might come along and say, "Have you tried this?" And you say, "Yeah, been there, done that." And very dismissive of other people's suggestions. And the simple fact is that I wonder as to when was the last time you did that. I wonder whether you did it with the same fortitude that a coach or mentor might help you to be able to muster this time. I wonder if you did it in the right mindset. I wonder if you did it with the right set of goals and outlooks and expectations. I wonder if you did it now. You see, Thomas Edison didn't one day wake up and create the light bulb. It's argued and it's suggested, it's reported that the filament light bulb that we now know Edison's to having created was his 1,000th attempt, and there were 900 odd prototypes, as he would call them, workings towards the one that subsequently worked. And yet there are many people out there that will try something once, possibly dip their toe in the water, and if you've got anything about me, you'll know full well that it's either get in and swim or don't bother putting your trunks on. If you're the type of person that says, been there, done that, doesn't work, what's next? Then the chances are that working with a coach is going to be equally as difficult. I'd also suggest that if you're the type of person that the first question you're going to ask is, well, how much is this going to cost me? And see coaching and mentorship as some form of cost to the business, then there's a good chance that it'll be just that. That regardless of how much money that you pay into their services, that you may see little in the way of reward. So far, I'm not painting that great a picture of business coaching and mentoring, am I? But there are many people with whom coaching and mentorship work exceptionally well. And it's those type of people that understand and acknowledge the fact that we don't know what we don't know. And yet, it's probably not knowing that is preventing us from being able to make the right decisions at the right time, quick enough and succinct enough, with enough confidence to be able to grow you and your business. And there's a good chance that regardless of what activity that we are having in business, that it's possibly not big enough to be able to make the right impact on the outcomes. We are still fearful of being able to do something significant and big because it's so different to that we've done previously, that we'll do it cautiously. We'll dip our toe in the water and then for some reason come to the conclusion, well that didn't work, did it? No, but I wonder as to how many times that you tried it. I wonder as to what size you tried it. I wonder whether you jumped in and said, do you know what, I'm all in on this. And whether a coach or a mentor is going to be able to help support you to be able to make bigger decisions quicker, faster, with more confidence and more competence to be able to see a significant outcome. The next set of questions I often get asked is with regards to competence and background. Have you got any experience in my industry? Have you ever done what it is that I do? And they're often quite surprised when I turn around and say, nope. And that's such a great thing, isn't it, you know? And they look at you as if to say, but I thought you wanted the job. And I went, well, it's funny that, because I'm not applying for a position of work with you. I'm not looking to become an employee within your team and to actually have to understand all the nuts and bolts about who you are and what you do. I'm not looking to be able to work with people at a managerial day-to-day who's going to put the kettle on type level. The type of work that I tend to do most and best with people is at a very much strategic level. And for that, I don't need to know the nuts and bolts. Yes, I need to understand the essence of who you are, what you do. But I'm far more interested in what do you want to achieve, how quickly do you want to achieve that, and what are you willing to do in order to put the two together. And for that, all I need to know is 7 key numbers in your business and how to grow 4 and reduce 3. And in its essence, that's what I do for people. I help them grow the amount of inquiries that they receive. I help them grow the amount of conversions that they have. I help them grow the amount of customers that they subsequently have. I help them grow how much money those customers tend to spend with them. I help to reduce costs. I help to be able to reduce outgoings. And I help to be able to increase profit margin between that that's generated and that's spent. And I don't need to know the nuts and bolts in order to be able to manage and manipulate those numbers for you and your business. And that's the difference between an employee and working alongside a business coach or business mentor. I don't need to know the background history of who designed that product and why that's in red and not yellow. It's of no real importance to the significant and sustainable growth of both you and your business. I'm far more interested to learn as to what prompted you to get into business in the first place, what it is that you want to achieve from your business, both now and short term and then longer term and eventually. What's your legacy statement? What do you want to leave behind? And how quickly do you want to move from one to the other? You see, I often start by asking a client or prospective client 4 questions, and dependent on the answer to these questions, i.e. if they are able to answer them, and 2, the competence of answer that they give, determines as to whether I believe that they're actually ready to work with a scale mentor like myself, or whether there's still some work that they need to do prior to getting the most out of who we are and what we have to offer. Now, don't get me wrong, perhaps you haven't come across the term scale mentor before and therefore wondering as to what on earth that is, and isn't it just another word for a business coach? And there are some similarities between that I do and that of a business coach. But equally, I do work with clients that have already got a business coach in place, and I'm not there to be able to tread on anyone's toes. I'm there to be able to enable and support the business to be able to move from growth to scale. And whether that's you at the helm, or whether it's working with the senior leadership team, whether it's working alongside other people in the business and support and external guidance. My role is to be able to identify those 7 numbers in a business and identify as to which ones needs to be manipulated first in order to be able to have the biggest impact on both you and your business, in order to be able to accelerate the speed of growth, the size of growth, and the time frame in which we can then look back on this and say, that was a success. What's next? Do you want to exit? And if so, do you want to create a legacy? What are we going to do with regards to exit planning and how to be able to pass this on as a profitable business? So you can either retire or move on to whatever it is that you want to do next. Or how to be able to start moving those towards those type of outcomes. So the four questions that I would want to ask you or anybody else before giving considerations to whether you're right for me and I'm right for you and whether we're likely to do business together. Question number 1, what is the date on which you want to sell this business? Now, don't get me wrong, if you're a startup or if you're in your infancy in business, there's a damn good chance that you haven't got any clue as to why I would be asking about selling the business. I'm not in the process of buying it from you. I'm not a philanthropist that's out there looking to be able to snap up good deals. So why on earth, if I'm looking to grow the business, are you asking for questions about selling it? And the simple fact is that unless you've given due considerations to this business being in play beyond your activity within it, if this business is not surrounding you and your lifestyle, if you want to be able to grow and scale a business as opposed to simply earn a significant income from it and then close it the day you retire, if you're actually wanting to be able to run a business as opposed to a lifestyle that pays you handsomely for doing so, then the chances are that we're perhaps not yet ready, or you're not yet ready for the type of work that we tend to do best with clients. I'm interested in people that have already given a little bit of consideration, at least, with regards to, do you want to exit this quickly, or do you want to be able to grow this over a period of time, and what sort of period of time that is? When do you want to be able to leave this, and what might it look like when you choose to do so? So question 1 is, what sort of date, be that a physical date, the 25th of December in 2025, or whether it's, well, I'd like to sell this by the time I'm X, and that's usually the year of birth, that's usually by the time I'm 50 or 60 or whatever age it is that they want to be able to exit. But have some real considerations to, so what sort of time frame are we working to in order that when you sell an exit, that you sell effectively and see it as a good use of your time and efforts. So the first question, there's some toughies there right from the very beginning, but the first question is all about the time frame in which you're looking to be able to complete this and move on. And the second question is equally as challenging. Don't get me wrong, I don't do easy. If you want easy, go online and find something else. I do effective, and that usually means challenging and forward thinking. You've got to give some real considerations to some of the questions I'm likely to ask. So question 2 is, on the date that you choose to exit the business, how much is it for? How much do you want from it? What will you give consideration as success? Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of work to be done there, because there's a significant difference between how much the business is turning over and what it's worth as a saleable asset. And if you are the primary fee earner for the business and you're about to exit, then I've got some really bad news for you. The valuation on your business is not based on turnover, it's based on your involvement in it. And the moment you leave and it collapses, the business is worth nothing. So we've got to get to a state where we can establish as to what figure do you want to walk away and be happy with, and then we can start to identify as to, so what does the business need to look like in terms of turnover and projections and ongoing work in order for that to become a realistic figure. So we'll do a little bit of work with regards to what a business of size might need to look like and the dynamics of what that needs to look like in order for you to be able to exit with the 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 figures it is that you want to be able to achieve from it. Not quite sure anyone's ready to be able to exit a business with 5 figures, but you get my drift. The third question, and like I say, I don't do easy. The third question is, who's going to buy it off you? And I don't necessarily mean, well, Tom from down the pub. I'm talking about who are the 3, 4, 5, 6 potential buyers of your business. And it might be by name, it might be by industry, it might be by brand. And you might have a rough idea. You might have an idea as to who you're not willing to sell it to, but less of an idea about who might want to buy it. But once we've established as to when you may wish to sell, and I'm not saying that you have to do it on that date, but once we've established as to when you may want to sell the business and the type of figure that you would like to walk away with, and therefore we know as to the size of business that it needs to be in order to be able to achieve that, we've then got to give some considerations to, so who's likely to have that type of money and would see this as a valuable proposition that would want to purchase said business? So question 3 is, can we start to identify either a couple of people or half a dozen or a whole industry full of people as to who might we choose to approach and sell it to at the time that we're ready to do so? 3 biggies so far, and the 4th one, which was probably even more difficult, and why there is the need to be able to have some help and support on board from now in order to be able to achieve this. The 4th and final, probably the most profound question, is why the hell would they pay that for it? You see, you will have a valuation on what you believe the business is worth, and they will have their own valuation on what they believe it's worth to them. And until we can get the to them figure to at least be close, if not above and beyond what it is that you wanted to be able to achieve from the business, then it's still not a success. And my job is to be able to work with you in the business to be able to identify as to what it is that you want to achieve from it, the time frame in which you want to achieve it within, and then what needs to happen in the business to be able to accelerate the speed of growth from growing businesses to a scaling business that has the capacities to sell for the figure that you want to achieve in the time frame that you want to achieve it by, and have identified the potential purchaser and why they would want to spend that money on it. And that is the difference between a business coach that might ask you a series of probing questions about how you come to some of the decisions that you do in your business, and somebody that is working for the business. Yes, with you as the business owner, but just as equally with the senior leadership team and other key decision makers in the business, to be able to ensure that anything and everything that we are doing is contributing towards those 4 outcomes. Now, so if that sounds of interest to you, the next things to do is to understand as to how best to be able to move forward. Now, we do not take any money from people before we have a 30-minute complimentary conversation to identify the answers to those 4 questions. And dependent on your answers will dependent on whether we've got a service that's available to you, or the right programs to be able to help support you right here and right now, or whether it is that we're going to say, well, I really think you ought to be able to have this in place before you get the benefit of what we have to offer. Or it might be that we simply turn around and say, do you know what? Either of us could say, having had that conversation, thanks very much, but I'm not quite sure that this is what we're actually looking to be able to do. And do you know, any of those outcomes are fine with me. I'd sooner spend 30 minutes speaking to somebody to identify as to whether we are a good fit with them and they're a good fit with us, and then we come to a conclusion at the end of that call as to whether we're going to book another call and determine as to how best to be able to move forward, or at the end of that, or at any time within that 30 minutes, either of us have the permissions to be able to put our hands up and say, do you know what, thanks very much, but I don't think that this is likely to work for us because, and to be able to offer just a little bit of feedback either to you or from you with regards to why this isn't the right fit for you right now. And like I say, I believe that nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's far better to have that conversation and after the result of it decide I've now really got a good idea that this isn't for me because Or, having had that conversation, that I'm really excited to be able to identify as to how best we can move forward, can we have a further conversation to determine as to how best, or which of the programs that you have to offer is best suited to us in our business right now. And that is how I would identify as to whether you need a coach or a mentor or not. The types of person that would be best suited to coaching and mentorship, and those that perhaps aren't yet ready for it. And when I say aren't yet ready for it, I'm not going to finish this with words of my own, but that from Mr. Bill Gates. Now, you might argue that Bill Gates, at the time of recording this, still considered the second richest man in the world, might have a thing to do to be able to give considerations to as to how on earth do you get to that level of wealth and be quite so successful. I take the words of Bill Gates and people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, significant words of consideration, bearing in mind the success that they've been able to achieve. And Bill Gates simply said, when questioned about coaching, if you want to get ahead, get a coach. That's Jay Allen from My True North. Look forward to being able to share some more with you real soon. Take care.